I'd like to thank our reader, my good friend Iris Noble, for the wonderful reading today, as well as our CSL music team for the music today. We're in week 1 of our series of This Thing Called You. It's a fabulous book by Ernest Holmes, and this chapter is all about living in joy and how we yearn for those things that we desire in life so that we can find our true joy. On our 2023 Remarkable Journey, we begin with our topic, the joy of living, seeking to live every day in the joy of life. And while each week is independent, I hope that you'll make it for most weeks. However, I have a suggestion. Try to read the chapter before Sunday. Just read through it, skim through it, don't let it get too much under your skin. And then listen on Sunday, and then the next couple of days, really delve deep into it. And then on Friday or Saturday, read the chapter for the next Sunday. And again, it won't matter if you miss a week, but it'd be great if you could make all 16 weeks. And of course, I always have a question for you. The question for the day is this: what's the one choice you can make today to seek the joy of living, believing with complete faith that the pattern of you being, the real spirit of who you are, is as eternal as God and is always seeking to manifest through you? One more time. What is the one choice you can make today to seek the joy of living, believing with complete faith that the pattern of your being, the real spirit of who you are, is as eternal as God and is always seeking to manifest through you? So we're talking about living your joy, not what someone else thinks you should do, or not what you think you should do because of somebody else's influence. We're finally back from the holiday season, and things are getting a little bit back to normal. And for me, that means more peace and calm in my life and getting back to some of my normal routines. And I truly want 2023 to be a remarkable year for me so that I can live in joy. When we find our own heaven on earth, we're naturally living in joy. The trick is to know how to go about finding those moments in life in which we truly feel connected with the divine, in which we find that joy that lasts not just for a day or a week or a month, but from year to year. Ernest Holmes in Richer Living wrote this: "We cannot experience joy around us until we have created it within us. God is calling our attention to the happiness of living the abundant life." Those words, calling our attention to, are important ones. I know I've told you this story before, but I couldn't resist telling it again because it's so apropos for today's message. There was a poor man, and he lived with chickens, a goat, a cow, his family in a small house. And he was beginning to feel like there was just no place in his life where there was peace and calm. So he went to the rabbi and he said, "Rabbi, I just can't seem to find peace and calm. My house is just so noisy and everything just seems like it's coming down on me." Well, the rabbi says, "If I tell you what to do you promise to do it?" And of course the man said, "Of course, I'll do whatever you tell me." So the rabbi pondered for a moment and then said, "Go home and bring your chickens and your goat and your cow inside the house." Well, the man's thinking, that doesn't seem like a very good idea, but I did promise I would do it. So he went home. He brought the chickens and the goat and the cow inside the house. So he was a little bit dumbfounded. But the next day, not surprisingly, the man returned to the rabbi. He says, "Things are even worse. The house like a barn. and it feels like hell. I need help. And the rabbi told him to go home, take the chickens out of the house, and God would help him. So he did. He went home, he took the chickens out of the house, and he waited. Well, a couple days later, he was back at the rabbi. Rabbi, the goat is smashing everything in the house. And the rabbi thought, okay. Well, go home and take the goat out of the house, and God will help you. So the man did. He went home and took the goat out of the house, and things got a little bit better. But it wasn't very long before he returned to the rabbi again, and he said, Rabbi, that cow is making a stable out of our home. I just don't think we can live with a cow in the house anymore. And the rabbi said, well, go home and take the cow out of the house and God will help you. So he did. He went home, took the cow out of the house. And a few days later, he came back to the rabbi and he said, Rabbi, you've made my life marvelous. With all the animals out of the house, it's so quiet and roomy and clean. It's a pleasure to live there. Now, this story's a parable, and it's such a great story about living in joy. The poor man and his house and his situation were the same as they were before he first visited the rabbi. And yet, he had changed the way he saw things. What the rabbi was doing was calling the poor man's attention to his abundant life, having him see his life from a different perspective. I know I've said this before, and it's important. The world I see is the world in me. This story of the rabbi and the poor man is not about accepting your good. It's about seeing the good that is right where you are. Jack and Cornelia Addington in Urimede's Net wrote this: the only reason we are not filled with joy at all times is because we are letting our feelings be governed by outer experiences. Experiences have no power to make us feel sad or happy of themselves. It is only our interpretation of them. The poor man began by seeing his home as overcrowded and noisy, and he learned how he could see it as peaceful and quiet. While his outer experience hadn't changed, he had changed his perspective. Lesson 2 in the Course in Miracles, which I think is so profound, says, I have given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. I've given everything I see all the meaning it has for me. What a wonderful insight. We are the ones that give things in our world meaning. Might you want to start looking at how the world about you can be filled with love and joy? I invite you to consider that God created you to live joyfully and see your world through those lenses. I did a talk a while back. It was about how to flip your life into one that's truly filled with joy. And FLIP was my acronym for Flexible Life Improvement Plan. Here's how it works. Let's suppose there's something in your life right now that you want to fix or that you feel is out of sync. Perhaps something that needs revitalizing, like your meditation practice or your eating plan. Just any area of your life that's not as joyful as you'd like it to be. If you could sit down with the rabbi from the story and have a conversation with him about that area of your life, What might you say about the situation? Pay attention to the story that you would tell him. Now, what might you ask the rabbi? Think about that for a minute. And then think about what the rabbi might tell you. Did you get any thoughts? I suggest that we spend some time doing this and noticing that you can shift your perspective on many things in your life that are currently not feeling joyful. What if you told the rabbi the same situation and you thought of it as a joyful event in your life? So sometime soon, today or tomorrow, try that and see if you can rewrite that story so that it looks a bit more joyful. Dr. Michael Beckwith, in 40-Day Mind Fast Soul Feast, Day 22, wrote this: contemplate the eternality of the Spirit's love for you, and it will transform every misery into a stepping stone to joy. God, God, God. You are God's hands and feet, serving itself in all of its human selves through you, loving itself in all through your own heart. Can you imagine a life for yourself devoted to anything but the one who loves you so much it thought you forth into existence? Wake up today and cultivate whole-souled devotion for the all-encompassing presence. This quote is truly about living with perspective that recognizes that God is for us and wants us to live a joyful life, not one with pain or hurt of any type. We were made to be creatures of joy and of love. What lives within all of us awaits an opening within us to be experienced and expressed. And not just expressed to ourselves, but expressed openly, shared with others. Imagine your life if you rewrote your stories of woe into stories of wonder. It is possible. For example, death could be something we mourn, or we could consider it a heaven birthday that we celebrate. Which would you prefer? Living in joy is not just about you. In chapter 1 of this thing called You, we read that we're all part of a universal order. Humanity is made up of individuals, no two alike. And we constantly say in our philosophy, we're all one. How does that fit into your joy, into your living your life and feeling wonder-filled each day? Ralph Waldo Emerson gave us some thoughts on this. Every man is a doorway through which the infinite passes into the finite, through which God becomes man, through which the universal becomes individual. Do you believe that there's a pattern of your life that is as external as God, as indestructible, that is seeking to manifest through you? If not, perhaps it's time you begin to think about that. What type of daily practices are you setting in motion in 2023? And if you want to live in joy, it's time to start knowing that what you are seeking is seeking you. In Thoughts Are Things, Ernest Holmes wrote, "The divine presence is already what you are, and it contains the possibility of all joy in living. You should not entertain any thought that would limit your experience of the good life." How often, like the poor man who was seeking help from the rabbi, do we entertain thoughts that limit our joy, that limit are experiencing the good life. I know I catch myself playing woe is me games every once in a while. And then I remember that video clip that was on YouTube that said, "Stop it." I suggest that we stop it. That we stop limiting our experiences of the good life. In the last paragraph of this chapter that we're reading this week, Holmes wrote this: "There is something within you beyond all doubt and fear, something which has never been limited by acts or destroyed by your feelings. This is the only something that can make you whole." So live from that. Find that place within you that has never been limited, that, as Gary Lynn Floyd sings, is unbound. Find that place where doubt and fear are overpowered by the light that you are. And place no value on anything that does not bring you joy and peace in your life, and a bit of gladness. Take constructive action in the direction of your dreams. And remember what Ernest Holmes told us in Richer Living. How can we help being glad and filled with joy if we believe that the presence and the power back of everything is one perfect life, forever giving of itself, forever flowing through us in wondrous light and power? And so, in summary, how might you embrace the joy of living and do it every day? Remember, seek the joy of living. Live your own joy, not someone else's. Call your attention to creating joy in your own life. Flip your life to one truly filled with joy. Don't allow those outer experiences to govern your feelings. Have a flexible life improvement plan. Create new perspectives for your life. Rewrite those stories of woe. Remember, you are a part of a universal order. Be a doorway through which the infinite passes into the finite. And put no value on anything that does not bring joy. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so easily and willingly make the choice today to seek the joy of living, believing with complete faith that the pattern of my being, the real spirit of who I am, is as external as God and is always seeking to manifest through me. And your challenge for this week is to find the joys of your life, to observe yourself this week and shift your perspective when you're not feeling joy. Notice how you're interpreting your outer experiences and what stories you're writing about your life. Use a prayer practice to stay in the joy of living. And check in with yourself a couple times a day. Just see how you're doing. Remind yourself to live joyfully. Let's pray. We take a deep, nourishing breath. And we just connect with that divine being that is love and joy and peace and ease. And we know that we are one with that divine. And what I know to be the truth is that we are each capable of taking those stories of woe, like the poor man, and shifting our perspective on them so that we see the joy and the peace and the calm in them. So I'm grateful. I am grateful to know that the God without is the God within me, that there is something in me as eternal as God. And it's from that gratitude that I release these words into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing that the divine has already called it good, has already said yes. So I can just let it be, say amen, and we can affirm it together. And so it is. And I want to thank everyone that continues to contribute to our community. I want to request that if you haven't been contributing and you're getting something out of these messages, that you find a way to give a little bit to our community. We're currently looking to buy a new computer so that we can make these services online a little bit easier to bring to you. And I know that you are supporting us in many ways with your times and your talents and your treasures. So enjoy the offertory hymn.